Hey there and welcome back to XCOM. My name is Pete and today we complete yet another episode of our XCOM Enemy Within Ironman Impossible walkthrough. Last time we left off after completing another Exalt Covert Extraction mission filled with 3 achievements, and depending on how things go today we might be able to unlock 2 more in this episode. For the moment though, we can start scanning, likely resulting in the completion of our next research project. Alright, here we are, we have unlocked the plasma pistol. This means that we can now not only manufacture plasma pistols of our own, but also equip our soldiers with plasma pistols recovered from captured enemies. I don't think I have to mention that the plasma pistol is another upgrade over the laser pistol. As a matter of fact, it is actually the most powerful pistol in the game. It can, however, be upgraded even further with several foundry projects, the third of which we have just unlocked here, and this one would improve all pistol damage by 1 point. Now, the question at this point is of course how to continue regarding research. We will still not go for the Hyperwave Communication Priority project, and we will actually also not focus on the light plasma rifle yet, because there is a good chance that we may be able to skip this project altogether. The Fusion Lance and EMP Cannon are both armaments for our fighters, but they're both best suited for the firestorm and we only have 2 of those at the moment, so I think they can wait for a little while longer as well. Now, the guided fusion launcher would be interesting as it upgrades our rocket launchers, but it also takes 14 days and I think if we start another long-term research project here then we should go for a bit more protection, so let us start researching the very powerful Titan armor now. Now again, depending on how the next mission goes, there is a good chance we switch out research projects midway through, because having access to plasma weaponry is of course becoming increasingly important, but like I said, we might be able to unlock the regular plasma rifles instead of the light plasma rifles right away. For the moment, Titan armor is what we'll start working on, and then we can continue scanning. Alright, as you can see in the bottom left corner, our 2 firestorms have now both been armed with laser cannons, so we can now jump over to the hangar and make a bit of room. In Africa, we currently have 2 interceptors and 2 firestorms, and one of those firestorms will now be transferred over to North America. Now that it has laser cannons, we should be good with only 1 firestorm in Africa, at least for a while, so let's also ship off the 2 interceptors to South America and Asia respectively. In a few days' time, we will now have 3 fighter jets on all continents except for Africa, while Africa itself now has space for 3 new jets, so let's hop over to engineering and purchase ourselves 3 brand new firestorms. This will cost quite a bit in cash and materials, but in 2 weeks' time we will be able to station 1 firestorm on each of the 5 continents. As you can see at the bottom, we have also passed the halfway mark of the month of July, so let's keep scanning and see what else pops up.
Contact detected.
Alright, we have UFO contact in Brazil and luckily it's only a small scout, so we should be more than fine sending out one of our 2 interceptors.
Bangs out. Closing on target.
And there we are, 2 quick hits bring the UFO down, and we can now send our squad over to clear out the crash site. Now, for this mission we will make a few changes. First of all, we will get rid of our heavy Kim Lupai. Emilia will also briefly take a seat to be replaced by Shoji as our squad leader, since he has the highest will stat of all soldiers and our entire squad can benefit from that. Sniper George Teasdale, meanwhile, will switch back from the skeleton suit to the carapace armor. Yes, the increased movement range from the skeleton suit is useful, but with his gene mod he doesn't need the grappling hook, and then again he won't be running around too much anyway. That skeleton suit can then go on Shoji, who will also receive an Exalt heavy laser, and of course his frag grenade will be switched out for the more powerful alien grenade. And since we're once again going up against aliens, we will also equip the arc thrower on Adam. Ideally we're able to capture ourselves a Muton today, but of course we'll have to see how the mission goes. Lastly then, we will of course not leave Emilia at home for this mission, and with her in the lineup we now have 6 soldiers in our squad who all have 2 gene mods each. That will become important once we have hopefully successfully completed this mission. Before we get going though, we can also equip the one plasma pistol we have on Rosilius here, as he is of course a bit restricted when it comes to shooting after moving, and a good sidearm will help in that regard. Stats-wise, you can see the plasma pistol does a bit more damage, although its critical hit chance is a little lower than that of the laser pistol, but then again, that's really not the weapon's most important stat. Now, since we have just freed up a laser pistol, let us put that one on Emilia next, and that now finally completes our preparations, so let's send our 6-person squad out to meet the aliens on the battlefield.
Come in, HQ. Big Sky has reached the outer marker. Approaching the crash site now. Strike team is awaiting your orders.
Affirmative, Big Sky. Strike 1 is free to engage hostile targets at the crash site.
Alright, we have arrived once again in the forest, although just like in the last UFO mission, we unfortunately don't have a lot of trees around. Instead, however, we already have a visual of the first melt container, and I would assume the alien UFO lies somewhere beyond that. So to kick things off, we unfortunately can't dash with Adam here simply for the lack of full cover, but we can have him stealth at least a little bit closer to the melt.
Visual on the goods.
Alright, 7 turns, that is more than generous, but again, as you can see, if we want to keep moving with him here, we will have to reveal his position. Before we do that, however, I think it might not be such a bad idea to actually deploy a battle scanner first, so let's move up Rosilius a few steps here and then scan that small plateau right behind the meld.
Scanning target area now.
Okay, nothing on that plateau, but enemies behind it. A Muton to be exact, and then a very similar looking enemy, but with much more hit points. This is a Muton Berserker. The Berserker is a heavily armored melee unit, very capable of instantly killing a soldier in one hit, but since it has no ranged weaponry, it is far from the most challenging enemy to take out. Now, it does have 25 hit points, and those will take some work, and it also has the very interesting Bloodlust ability, allowing it to move closer to its enemies every time it gets shot. This could become a problem, but it could also be exploited to our advantage. For the moment at least, we are lucky that this small plateau is blocking the Muton's line of sight, so we can in fact advance a bit further towards the melt without fear of being detected. Emilia can already get herself into position to grab it on the next turn, while everyone else scatters around and behind her. Unfortunately then the Mutons run over to the left side, almost out of the scanner's range, but let's grab the meld first and then assess the situation.
In hand, Commander.
So we see shades of the UFO in the back, but we don't really have a good visual of the terrain surrounding the Mutons, which is why we want to be very careful here not to activate them too soon. Using his stealth abilities, Assault Adam can get himself a little bit closer, and fortunately that also gives us a much clearer picture of the situation we're dealing with. The rest of our squad can now move up to that small rocky plateau as well, always making sure, however, not to venture too far over to the left side, as there is a bit of a gap on that side which could trigger the Mutons too early. Unfortunately, the Mutons themselves then continue going left, but on the other hand, at least we don't have any other hostiles appearing on the scene. So let's continue in a slightly more aggressive manner here, by moving our Assault Adam work right up next to the two enemies. He is close enough so that whatever they do on the next turn, a close combat specialist is guaranteed to trigger, so we will be activating them while doing some damage at the same time. And for that reason we will now move the rest of our squad up a little closer as well. Again, keep in mind that we will have to do quite a bit of damage on the next turn to take these two guys out. We end things on a few overwatches, which might allow us to get a few extra shots off before our next turn actually begins, and then it's time for the Mutons to make their move. And as expected, with the regular Muton's first step, the close combat specialist ability activates. Unfortunately though, despite the close range, the shot goes wide.
Adjusting sights.
Emilia's reaction shot from an elevated position then also misses, and up next our heavy Shoji takes aim, but his shot doesn't find the target either. Fortunately enough, however, only now does the group actually activate, and as you can see, that means they are now moving back towards Adam. And because there is no limit on the ability, this triggers Close Combat Specialist a second time, this time dealing 5 points of damage to the Muton Berserker. So here we are now with a grand total of 30 hit points to take down. Ideally though, the regular Muton stays alive so that we can capture it. And we will start things off with a hopefully well-placed rocket from Andrea here, aiming at just the right angle to hit both enemies but not Adam.
Hoorah!
Lovely, that deals 6 points of damage, and here we can now see the Berserker's Bloodlust ability in action, as right after the hit it begins moving to get closer to its attacker. Depending on how we play this, it might eventually make its way up to that small plateau, and that would be useful to get it in the sight of our sniper Resilius Wargal. Now up next we're moving up our other heavy, Shoji here, but for some bizarre reason he can't actually fire at the Muton Berserker standing right in front of him. I suppose this has something to do with elevation and cover, but luckily we have other means of dealing damage, namely an alien grenade. Once again, after the hit, the Berserker rushes in to close the distance, but don't worry, even if it's able to get into melee range, it's not actually able to attack as part of this reaction. It is now, however, in a very good spot to send our support Emilia in, who can take aim with a 95% shot. And that is good for 5 additional points of damage, and the Berserker once again moves in closer, but now it is in the very unfortunate position of being in the sights of Sniper Wargal. And no surprises here, Resilius gets the kill, Combat Rush and Double Tap both activate, and he could now go for the killing blow on the regular Muton as well, but like I said, we want to capture that one, so let's try something different first. With our other sniper, George Teasdale, we can switch over to the pistol and then move him into position, and even if he lands a critical hit, there is still a 33% chance of only doing 3 points of damage, and that is unfortunately our best bet at the moment. It does pay off though, as he is able to bring the Muton down to only one single hit point, and with that we can now move in with Adam for the stun.
Yes, Commander. Looks like you're coming home with us.
And there we are, we have successfully captured a Muton. Had we failed, Resilius would have still had the shot to get the kill, but so we can now end the turn right here. And we hear heavy footfalls indicating that a Mechtoid is somewhere nearby, probably somewhere inside of the UFO, otherwise we would have very likely seen the thing by now.
Let's do this.
Our next move will now once again be with Assault Adam Work, who can stealthily move a bit closer to the wreckage. And on the way over there, he actually detects the next group of opponents. I'm not quite sure if you'll be able to see it in the video, but these are 2 Sectoid Commanders. As you can see, we also have a squad side shot with Resilius here, but let's actually try to activate them first in the hopes that they come a little bit closer.
Hostile spotted.
Alright, here's why I wanted this to happen and made this somewhat unusual move, because Shoji can now just barely reach them both with a rocket.
Rockets away.
And that is what I wanted to do first, because it removes both of their covers, and we can now hopefully use Sniper George's in the zone ability to take them both out.
He's down. Got him.
And there we are, no more enemies in sight, but we know there are some more roaming around, so let's get the rest of our squad in position and finish the turn with a round of overwatches.
Let's do this.
All we locate on the alien's turn, however, is the rough location of the second meld container, so at least it seems like our careful approach with the Mutons did not slow us down too much. To begin our next turn, we will of course keep scouting as usual with Adam.
Good copy, moving on target.
And he finds the source of the noise we heard earlier, a Mechtoid accompanied by yet another Sectoid Commander. However, there is no need to alert them of our presence right now, so let's advance just a little closer, and we can move up pretty close to Adam here, since he also only spotted them right before getting into cover. On the alien's turn then, both Mechtoid and Sectoid Commander get into range however, and so the first barrage of reaction shots is fired. Emilia hits the Mechtoid for 4 points of damage, while Resilius hits the Sectoid Commander for 7, but we're not quite done yet.
Target's still up.
Oh, shot wide.
Unfortunately though, both reaction shots by Andrea and George missed their marks, but still we are in a more than manageable situation here. First of all, we will now activate a run and gun and move Adam over to the Sectoid, simply to get rid of the Mechtoid's overwatch.
I'm all right.
And now that he's here, he might as well also go for the kill.
Nailed him.
Alright, that leaves only 20 hit points worth of Mechtoid standing, and I believe that is the last enemy on this map. So let's open fire here with a headshot from Resilius. No critical hit sadly, but still 5 points of damage, and thanks to double tap he can now fire again. That's another 5 points, very reliable, and up next we can now give our heavy Shoji a chance. He deals 7 points of damage, leaving the Mechtoid with only 3, and that should now be an easy task for support Emilia Solberg.
Moving.
We nailed it, Commander. Mission accomplished.
And there we are, we have completed the mission and we have just unlocked 2 very important achievements. First, the Meld Squad for winning a mission with a squad in which everyone has some form of genetic modification, and then Mutatis Mutandis for achieving pretty much the same, only with at least 2 modifications per soldier. We also retrieved both meld containers, and with the goods in hand, let's return to the base.
Our troops are making it look easy out there. Let's hope they don't get too cocky.
No surprises here, we don't have any promotions, but a good amount of loot.
Excellent work, Commander. Capturing the alien subjects alive allows for a much wider range of experimentation versus the expired specimens.
So we can now of course interrogate the captured Muton and perform an autopsy on the Berserker, and from the Muton we also recovered a plasma rifle, which has now unlocked the plasma rifle research. And that is what I was hoping for prior to the mission, and the reason why I held off on researching the light plasma rifle. We do of course also find a fair amount of valuable artifacts, including a damaged flight computer and power source, which we'll both sell in just a moment.
Thanks to the aliens, our engineering team has managed to negate billions of dollars in traditional aerospace development with a single ship.
A short line of dialogue here congratulating us on the development of the firestorm, but we are already looking forward at the next to-dos, and for those we will likely need some cash, so let's sell the 2 damaged items here for a grand total of 50 credits and then go over to research. We have an interrogation as well as an autopsy to complete here, and let's start by picking apart the Muton Berserker.
The men are calling this beast the Berserker, although it shares the same structure as the Muton. For reasons yet unknown to us, the Berserker seems to be consumed by bloodlust with little regard for its own safety.
Alright, this unlocks another very interesting item as well as the 10th and final gene mod of the game. The item being the Combat Stims, a stimulant that can be used to increase the soldier's will and movement range, while at the same time reducing all incoming damage by 50%, all of that for 2 turns. As you can imagine, that is very useful in the right situations, as is this gene mod right here. Neural damping offers a bit more protection against psionic attacks, as it also boosts the soldier's will when psionically attacked, and even outright cancels the mind control attack. So that's the autopsy side of things taken care of. Up next we have an interrogation to complete. Okay, no items, projects or modifications this time, but a research credit for plasma weapons which we'll use right here and now. As you can see, the light plasma rifle now only takes 6 days to research, but so does the far superior regular plasma rifle as well. So the choice here is a simple one. Let's go for the plasma rifle, a weapon that at least Emilia and Adam can hopefully use soon. And I would say that's about all for today's episode. Now, we are somewhat overdue for a very special mission to happen, and I assume that one will take place in either the next episode or the one after that, so stay tuned for something that could really put our skills to the test. For today, however, we will make the cut right here, and I hope you have enjoyed the episode, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course do so, either by subscribing to stay up to date, or by maybe checking out and pledging to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.